La 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 la. Isn't this fun? Lovely stroll on the moors.
Did you hear that?
I heard that.
What is it? You think it's a dog?
Nice doggy.
Good boy.
What happened to them?
Well, the police report said they were attacked by an escaped lunatic.
A wolf. My friend Jack was just here. Told me that I will become a monster in 2 days.
Your dead friend, Jack.
Yes.
Gotta believe me, David.
Believe what? You're one of the undead, and I'm a werewolf.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Black Lives Matter.
This week, we'll be discussing the horror with a splash of comedy, perhaps. Classic American Werewolf in London, starring, I don't know,
David Naughton.
David Naughton from the Dr. Pepper ads circa 1979.
And he had his own TV show on network TV called Making It.
Making it.
I've got the chance, I'm taking it. He was a song and dance fella.
Obviously a song and dance sort of guy. We got Jenny, who I always mess up her name, Agutter. I don't know what her name is.
I don't know, but she's been in stuff.
We've been in stuff we've talked about.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to that a little bit later. Griffin Dunn and an assortment of other British actors, which you may or may not be familiar with.
There
So
might
there you have
be
it.
people you're like, he looks familiar, but then you don't bother researching it.
Did I see him on EastEnders?
No. Nobody knows what we're talking about.
No. If you have the Acorn channel, you might recognize some of these people. Let me leave it at that. Aaron,
Wait a minute.
go.
Do you have the Acorn channel?
I do not.
Okay.
You're an Anglophile.
I am an
the opposite.
Anglophile, but I was like, how do you even know about EastEnders? That was my jam for years.
I know. I know of many things. Give us a quick 30-second summary of American Werewolf in London.
American city folk, college graduates, I'm guessing, backpacking across Europe, decide to go through northern England, not Scotland, northern England. And they're wandering around. And this is why I don't hitchhike through Europe. I travel in style.
Of
I
course.
have suitcases. I am on a train. I have hotels booked. Middle of the night, riding with sheep, get dumped off. It's God knows where. Wander into a pub, and as personally has happened to me, you walk into these local pubs out in the middle of nowhere, and everyone stops and stares at you. No one starts talking again for at least 10 minutes or until you've ordered.
It's like Otis Day and the Knights in Animal House. You walk in, Otis, my man, and the record skips, and they look at you.
Exactly. I mean,
Right.
that's not going to happen in London. But when you get out there, like when I was in Scotland, faux show. Like when you're in some tiny town where everybody knows everybody, it was like, what are you doing here?
Right.
Yank? And then they immediately correct me on my pronunciation of my last name.
How do
Anyway,
they pronounce it?
I checked into a hotel in Scotland under Aaron Doherty. He's like, oh, sure you know that's not how you spell it. Go ahead and tell me it again. I'm like, oh, Doherty. That sounds much better.
Much better. Yep.
And just on a side note, this place in Fort Augusta was a cross between Fawlty Towers and The Shining. So, just so you know.
Always a classy choice.
Always a classy choice. Lovely. Highly recommend Scotland. But back to our story.
Yep.
So they're hitchhiking. Everybody is staring up. Things are starting to loosen up. And of course, they ask the awkward question. Be sure to interrupt the local right in the middle of a great story and ask something that's clearly going to have a bad answer.
Right.
It's like you hear the record scratch.
Absolutely.
After that, persona non grata, get the F out. I don't care if it's cold. I don't care if it's pouring rain. All they would say is stay to the road. Anyway, of course, being college kids and know-it-alls. They next thing you know, they're in the middle of the forest. What was the plan? They obviously don't know where they are. Why are they in the middle of the moors?
These are good questions that we're gonna have to delve into in the next part.
But I've got over my 30 seconds. Howling, chewing. One of them wakes up in the hospital. One of them wakes up in the morgue.
Yep.
Dead friend comes to visit. Hey, kill yourself. You're a freaking werewolf. You're crazy. Full moon that seems to last for 3 days.
Yep.
Killing. Hey, my dead friend's back, looking like something that the dog dragged in a week ago. Hey, here are all the people that you killed. They'd like you to kill yourself too. Still didn't listen. Doctor believes him. Yada, yada, yada. Killing spree. He gets shot by the Kappas. The end.
The end. Nicely done.
Boom. I got a
that
little sidetracked with my stories of Scotland.
That's okay. I have been backpacking through Europe and England specifically.
And this situation happened to you?
I have to. Okay, let's just jump right in with the highlights because you're right. The
I thought it was
opening.
going to be the highlights of your story.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that all the secrets of my backpacking trip in '97. So it starts off with them getting dumped off at the side of the road from like a sheep truck, basically, is what it is. And I thought
it was All Creatures Great and Small or something.
It was something. And I remember when I did it, I had destinations, specific places I was going. I had reservations. It wasn't just literally ride, hitching a ride. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like we're just wandering aimlessly around the countryside.
That means you're cool with A, not eating for a day or two, and two, sleeping rough like a hobo.
Sleeping like under the stars, basically.
Or under a bridge like a troll.
Under the bridge
in
downtown.
The pouring rain.
Absolutely. So they like you said, they stagger their way to the only like township like within 100 miles for all they know. They don't know where there's no map. When I was backpacking, I had a map glued to my hand because I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going. There's no Waze or any of those apps back in '97. Wasn't back in '81, right? They're just like, whatever. Well, just wherever the road takes us, I guess is how they're rolling. As it's like, turning dark outside and storm clouds are starting to show up. Interesting.
Yeah.
Not how I do
move.
it. Not how I do it.
Nah.
So
that
was already
a question. Kicking them out, like where's an inn? A couple of questions, not just we're out in the pouring rain. How about there's no map quest. They don't have cellular phones. I would have at least said, okay, where's the next town? Where's an inn?
Absolutely.
Where can we go? A question or two.
No, your buddy, I'm a pepper, you're a pepper, everybody should be a pepper too, was way too quick to walk out there. He's like, let's just go. Let's get out of here. I'm like,
you motherfuckers are going to have to drag me out.
You're not putting me out here.
No, you're going to drag me out and I'm going to be kicking.
Pretty much, because it's like, where are we supposed to go?
It's wet and cold and we're in puffer jackets.
Yeah.
Why would you bring a puffer jacket to Scotland? It's just going to absorb like a sponge.
These are important questions. Second thing that was popping. Actually, you know what? You take the next one. Go for it. What is a highlight you'd like to share?
Well, mine's farther in when you get to see his dingle dangle. The dingle dangle that cost him his television and his Dr. Pepper.
You do not see his dingle dangle.
You don't see. Okay, I'm going to get very specific. You do not see the end of it, but you do see him. There's no tip. But you do see a bit of dingle dangle. That's what cost him the TV show and his Dr. Pepper, because Dr. Pepper is so wholesome they don't even have penises.
David Naughton, I hope it was worth it. That's all I'm going to say on the subject.
But I got to tell you, I bet he says it's not.
Well, needless to say, he did not set the world on fire post American Werewolf in London. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Poor David Naughton. He was a cute little critter, though, but he seemed to be utterly hairless. Do you think that was natural or like a choice?
You know what? I think actors will do that. kind of.
I don't care for that.
You know what I'm saying? It's like back in the day, you'd have Sean Connery, big furry patch. He would literally say,
That's what I want. I want to. He was a hairy bear. He was a scary bear.
Sean Connery literally said, or James Bond said, bird won't nest in bear tree.
Oh my God. Yeah. I got to write that. Bird won't nest in a bear tree.
That's right. It's an old Japanese proverb, evidently, according to James Bond.
Well, I got to tell you, the Japanese are not known for being very hairy. So the birds don't nest in Japan?
I guess not. The birds. Right. No, to add a horrible little addendum to this story. Years ago, I was at home, still living at home. So this is like, summer vacation from college or something. And I was getting ready to jump in the pool, and Mom stopped me, and she's just like, Kev, girls like a little hair on a guy. And I'm like,
what does that mean?
Because I was hairy. Because I'm a hairy man. And I'm like,
your mom was basically saying, people will still love you even if you're hairy.
And let me just say, I didn't ask. She just volunteered this as she passed me in the hallway. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
Lord.
you, Mom. Anyway, sweet Jesus. So this is more than people want to know.
My takeaway from this whole thing is the bird quote. I love it.
You got to write that down.
I just wrote it down. I'm like, keep telling your story because I'm still writing the quote down.
You have to do it with the Sean Connery accent, though. Bird won't nest in bad tree.
I'll take the rapist for 3.
That's therapists. Yeah.
That's one of the classics.
Okay.
Sorry,
we're going off
if
a
y'all
tangent.
don't know, we just jumped off
Yes.
the rail and nobody's been drinking.
This is true. David Naughton and his dingle dangles. That's important.
He was kind of spry. I have to say, except for that one shot, they were very careful to conceal. As he's climbing walls and stuff, he doesn't appear, I don't know where they taped it, but it was a lot of clever editing. But I guess they just didn't want to go full Caligula, I guess.
And thank God for that. Hi, Claudius or something. Good time.
So I'm applauding David Naughton's bum and his bravery at showing his wingle wangle. What's your next favorite part?
Oh, David Naughton. Good times. I was going to talk about the Moors. The Moors. Now, throughout this, when they're in northern England, where it's supposed to be northern England, there's a lot of...
But not Scotland.
Not Scotland. And Frank, all the actors have Yorkshire accents.
All right.
But
then it is All Creatures Great and Small.
However,
Yorkshire Dale.
This is behind the scenes, but the terrain does not match Yorkshire because it was filmed in Wales.
All right.
So there you go. Not in northern England. So good times.
Because they don't think you can't have werewolves in Wales. Our people are from Wales besides various other places.
Various other places. That's the rule.
The mom side of the family, the Phoenixes, are supposedly Welsh.
Allegedly. Okay.
Allegedly.
So the Moors. Stay. Now everybody, Sean Connery. Stay off the Moors. Stay to the road. And I was just like...
That seems like good sense.
It seems like excellent sense. Number one, I had to look up what the hell a moor is. Do you know what a moor is?
I've been on a moor, and I have sunk in. Or maybe I was in a peat marsh. What's the difference? I was going to go take a picture in Ireland, and I appeared to be a moor or something. And I'm walking through, and the next thing I know, with my sandals, I'm up to my knees in slosh. I'm like, oh.
I think it's kind of a wetland. It's what it's something related. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's something related to that. So there's a lot of stay to the road, stay off the moors. And you watch them they're like walking down the road and just casually walk right off the road. Like they forgot. They're like, I guess we're just going to wander in this field in the middle of the night. That's the plan. We don't know where we're going and we're getting off the road.
And we're getting off the road. We're just going to wander in the dead of night, in the pouring rain.
Lord, I was born a rambling man. There's going to be a lot of songs tonight.
It is not good thinking, Lincoln.
Do not do it. Now, it turns out to be a bad idea because evidently the werewolf only attacks you if you're on the moors. If you stay on the road, why is that? Who's to say? Why does that make sense?
Do we know that it only attacks them, or maybe the advice was, well, stay on the road because I'll take you to the next town.
Well, but you got the sense that maybe they were just giving them traveling advice.
It was an ominous warning.
Stay to the moors.
Meanwhile, they got like a bloody pentagram on the wall of the pub with burning candles, and no one's to speak of the pentagram. I was like, Aleister Crowley retired.
That was the record skip moment. There's a bloody pentagram painted on the wall of the pub in this town called East Proctor, which is not a real place. So that's good to know.
I hope not. It's a terrible name.
Not to be confused with West Proctor, evidently. No, okay. I don't know if there's a West Proctor either. So good time. Okay, so back to you. Any other highlights you have?
Well, I'm going to tell you what's a highlight, but that I really didn't care about. The 2 super long Rick Baker transformation into a frickin' werewolf. As I said in that, what is it? The Carmel horror werewolf.
The Howling, classic.
The Howling. They're so proud of their technique. They spent too much time, too much frickin' time.
A lot of bladders.
And in the end, it doesn't even look like
they're
a
bubbling.
werewolf. I don't know what. Oh, thank God! At least in this, it didn't have like call Dr. Pimple Poppers. Is that a lymphoma growing
a carbuncle?
A carbuncle. Get the. You gotta put a hot towel on that. We're gonna bring it to a head. But what I don't like is, and this is very popular in this era of werewolves. A werewolf is a wolf. It should look like a wolf, not some kind of weird.
It's not a wolf man. It's just a man who changes into a giant wolf.
Yeah, because the Lon Chaney Wolf Man with the pig nose was the worst looking. The stuff with Bela Lugosi and the gypsies were great, but the actual look of the original werewolf was caca.
Okay.
And so
I cut him some slack. They were 1930, but anyhow.
No, but I'm like,
but you thought this sucked in this movie? The
oh my God! Quite frankly, it was so painful. Why wouldn't you kill yourself after the first time all your bones cracked?
Well, but they said he didn't remember. Like the next morning when he's waking up in the zoo. Just like altered states.
In an amorous state. Yeah, in an amorous state.
Wakes up naked as a jaybird in the wolf cage. And, of course, the zoo is open for business. So there's a lot of knot and dingle-dangle. Much Aaron's happy.
How did he get all through London? I got to tell you, London is big AF.
Well, he steals
he
steals the balloons from the little kid first. And then he grabs the woman's red overcoat and wears that.
Sir, I'm raising my hand. Please call on me. Once again, London is big AF, and as a wolf, I'm guessing he's running all through town.
Yeah, that's a good question. But yes,
London is a big, crowded city. They ain't gonna go for the dude with a balloon on his dingle dangle strolling through town. No. That was all in the zoo. In the zoo, he steals the balloon, and then he uses that to cover himself somehow. I don't know. That doesn't seem very helpful. And then he steals the raincoat, still in the zoo. And then I guess he takes. Oh. So you're claiming that once he left the zoo grounds, he was no longer like some kind of clown-like pedophile. Is that correct?
I'm not going to say that. I think he's still a clown-like pedophile. But at least he was not exposing himself. So that's as far as we know.
As far as we know.
But what you're saying is kind of draws an interesting point. When he becomes in London, right? You see him murder people literally all over town. And no one sees him except the victims. And they only for a second. Like the one scene where he's chasing homie through the London Underground for 15 minutes and there's not another soul. That's some creative filmmaking. You know what I'm saying? You think 100 people would have seen the giant Wolf.
Mm.
Jump in.
No, I'm agreeing with you. That was my
That was an agreement sound. Mm-hmm. Because he literally is all over town, but no one sees the wolf. So that's a question mark. Question mark.
There's a black wolf, and he's hanging in the dark shadows.
I mean, this thing is as big as a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't just a little old timber wolf. This thing is huge. So, anywho, any other highlights that you want to jump in on?
The other thing I really liked was his crazy friend. Like the first time that he appears in the hospital. What was his friend's name?
Jack Goodman.
Jack,
played by Griffin Dunne.
Griffin Dunne rolls in the very first time, and he's a fresh part of his neck is like open, and he's literally reaching his hand into his friend's food, dipping toast into a runny old egg yolk. Yep. And he's like, "You're hurting my feelings by yelling at me."
Because he's all bloody with big wounds. Yeah, this is right because so like you said, David Naughton, his character was also named David.
Good.
There you
Makes
go.
it easy for them to.
So when he is now the carrier of the curse of being a werewolf. And because of that, you are basically haunted by your victims. Essentially, they are basically undead until the curse is broken, right?
And
is
the
that
curse
what they
is
established?
broken. Now, is it all werewolves have to die, or just this current host?
That's a good question. That's where I'm coming to.
We don't actually know if these people are free or not.
Because David did not kill his friend Jack. That was another werewolf. The werewolf who turned David into a werewolf is the one who killed Jack. So why is Jack haunting David? That's question. Right? Because the werewolf who attacked David and had already killed Jack was then shot down by the townspeople, who now are suddenly feeling all altruistic when 5 minutes ago they could have just left him stay in the pub. But that's neither here nor there.
They already know there's a werewolf, so why didn't they just kill the dude when he was in his natural form and be done with it?
These are all interesting questions. So over the course of the movie, it's really just one night. One night, even though he's seeing his dead friend, I don't think it's true. He has a freak out, becomes the werewolf, and murders like a young couple coming to a dinner party, murders some businessmen on the tube, and murders 3 homeless men on like some trash barge over by the Tower Bridge.
Dude, I think it's over. It's 2 nights because there's the first night when he wakes up in the zoo.
No, that's one. Well, the next night he becomes a werewolf again inside the adult theater.
Which
and that's
I
where it
don't
ends.
understand because there's 2 back-to-back full moons. The full moon's only one day.
No. It's 3 nights. Yes, this is important. I'm a lunologist.
You're a Looney Tune.
I'm an astrologist. The way it works, it's because it's the Earth passes in front, like,
and then it just stops for 3 days?
No, it slowly creeps in front of it,
it's
casting a
waxing
shadow.
and waning.
Right. So it's slowly so it's not. It doesn't jump on and jump off.
Well,
it slowly slides over.
I have to disagree, and this is based on just my opinion.
Okay.
But there's only like an eclipse one time when it's perfectly covered. When it's the perfect circle. After that, it's either leaving or going. It's either coming or going. It's waxing or waning.
Okay, we'll just agree to disagree. Neither one of us are astrophysicists.
I'm an astrophysicist, but I heard a train in the distance. What's happening over in your part of town?
I'm that's the London Underground.
Are you a train conductor besides an astrophysicist and a looniologist?
Look, I'm a Renaissance man. Okay,
is that
Jack
what
of many trades? Yes. So he murders those people. So the next day, Griffin Dunne pops up. Griffin Dunne pops up 3 times. First time, he's very fresh and bloody, Then you see him, like, evidently the next day, and he's all green and all chewed up. And again, Griffin Dunn has a sense of humor about this. He's like, hey, I'm still your friend, but you really got to kill yourself.
I'm just
You got to
telling
kill
you as
yourself.
a friend.
You're going to, if you don't do it, David, you're going to change and you're going to murder people. So
David,
my
of course,
advice.
thinks he's losing his freaking mind, doesn't believe any of this is true because he doesn't remember any of this ever happening. So
Right.
he thinks he's basically lost his mind.
And then smash cut the next day after the night of killing. David Naughton goes to adult theater, like you do.
Like you do. Like Pee Wee
and-
Herman did.
Like, hey,
Hey,
judge
hey,
not.
hey.
So while he's there, he sees Jack a third time. And this time, he is all jacked. He's like basically a puppet at this point, looking all skeletal.
What's the morgue like in London? They keep him in like one of those burger warmers or something? Why is this decomp so quick?
It's pretty rough. Right, exactly. They're all of their freezers are full, evidently, down in the morgue. Very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave them out on the curb. So he's all jacked up. But now there are the 6 other people who were just murdered, and they're all red and juicy.
Right.
Basically.
And some are more angry than the other. There's one couple that are just smiling and delightful and suggesting fun ways that he could kill himself.
Right.
And
well,
then
you wonder, are
there's
they just
the dude
simple?
who's just pissed off. I
Right.
think they're British.
Is that what it is? They're just too polite?
They're overly polite. And then there's
Yeah.
the other dude who is just pissed.
So my question about all this stuff is that the curse says that as long as the curse is going on, these undead people, the victims, cannot go to their final reward or whatever.
They're condemned to walk the earth.
They're condemned to walk the earth. But again, fine. I got the people I killed that are haunting me. Why is Jack haunting me? And if he's still hanging around, where are all the other victims? Why aren't they showing up and filling the theater?
Maybe it's the bloodline. Maybe there's a whole bunch of other ones. Or maybe he's the Jacob Marley in this story. Come to warn a good friend. He's the Jacob Marley, and David is Ebenezer Scrooge.
Well, at one point, one of the other angry undead are like, you should just hang yourself. And Jack gets offended. He's like, no, he can't do that. Because he can mess it up and it can hurt him. They're like, I don't care. He just killed me yesterday.
Exactly.
This is my buddy. Don't talk to my friend that way. So that was kind of amusing.
So the only thing to make this make sense is that anyone in this lineage since the dawn of time is wandering around until the last one is dead. That's the only thing that makes
exactly
sense.
right. But they're just not showing up for David.
Because they just couldn't give a...
They're still back in East Proctor, wandering around over there. Interesting. Okay.
Watching people sleep and moving things around.
Like they do. Like they do. Do you have any other highlights you want to share?
I mean, I like this movie, and I liked it more when I was younger. I like the idea of a horror comedy, but the problem with a horror comedy is it ends up not being that scary and not being that funny. Because you can't be crying and screaming and then like have a laugh. It's a very complicated thing to get right. I mean, I can't think of one that does it better. Can you?
Well, I guess...
Besides Drag Me to Hell.
Demon Knight, for example. Need I say more? Well, no.
But Demon Knight was never scary. It was always campy from the beginning. This was trying to be legit.
No, and you're right. It's kind of like... I
think it's just too hard.
It'd
be like watching Sophie's Choice, except like the
comedic version
guy was like a comedy guy. He was always trying to zing her and Kevin Kline.
I see.
Bop.
If Peter McNichol was dropping one-liners, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Oh my God! Why did I ever watch that movie? It will haunt me to the day I die.
We will not be covering Sophie's Choice on this particular podcast. I enjoyed this movie a lot.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right when you say it's not particularly scary. and it's not like hilarious. It's just kind of pleasant and amusing. You know what I mean? Which is weird to describe American Werewolf in London as pleasant and amusing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would still recommend it. I mean, for anybody who's not a huge fan of horror, number one, why are you listening to this show?
That is a strange thing.
That would be a weird thing to say. There are certain movies that we do that are ostensibly horror movies that aren't particularly scary. It's more of like, the themes or the setting or the character versus anything particularly scary about it. I don't know. I enjoy it. I can't explain it.
I just thought of something else. Something else. Part of it, he was having all these bad dreams. I know I'm jumping all over.
It's okay.
But I just remembered, once he woke up, he started having these terrible freakish dreams. Remember the dream he had where he was back home and it was like Christmas time? Yeah. Or should we say Hanukkah time?
It was not. There you go. They established that these are two Jewish characters.
Exactly. Very sensitive by having a sneaky peeky.
Right. The nurse. Oh, God. There's a scene where the nurse is just like, he's one of them Jewish boys. I took a quick peek. It's like, oh, jeez.
Our non-traveled friends out there, America is pretty much the only place that circumcises.
This is probably more than you wanted to know, listeners.
The rest of the world is free and easy. Everybody's got a turtleneck.
This is true. David Naughton, not Jewish.
However. He's not?
Not Jewish. I'm not sure.
We're never sure white people from New York. We never know. We just.
I'm not sure
Jewish?
Griffin Dunn is Jewish either.
Is he this? It's just these dark-haired men who play every possible role.
That's basically what it is. Basically what it is. Anywho.
Anyway, so he's having this dream, and they're like these Nazi pighead monsters busting through everywhere. That was kind of scary. And he wakes up at one point and thinks it's over, and the nurse is there, and she opens the curtains, and the dream continues, and the monster Nazi pigs are running through there.
Yep.
I assumed that was some kind of warning to him, like what was going to happen if he returned home.
There were a few of those kind of bizarro dream sequences. That, I mean, I guess that's because you're turning into a werewolf, you have bad dreams about it, where he's running through the forest, the Nazis are attacking his family. He wakes up in a hospital bed in the forest with scary eyes, and who knows what's going on.
And the other thing that I thought was so bizarre, I'm assuming these are college dudes. Or
they're
right out,
30-year-old college, so they graduate from med school.
Are they supposed to be 30?
I don't know what they're... David Naughton was 30 when he filmed this movie. So there you go.
But I'm assuming these are college
They're supposed to be, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I assume they don't have a pot to piss in. So I don't know about you, but Kevin, if you woke up after 3 weeks in a coma after being almost killed, what would mom say about you? I'm just going to hang out. I got no money. I have no legal right to be here. I'm just going to chill. I'm just gonna I moved in with the nurse who took care of me.
So
or would mother be, you're getting your fucking ass home. We haven't seen you. You almost died. No.
Well, I'd like to think my loved ones might hop on a plane and see me. If we were both attacked. My friend was murdered. I'm in the hospital for 3 weeks in a coma. Hopefully you're getting on a plane. At one point, the only time, other than his crazy dream sequence, he calls the house to tell his family. Only his little sister, Rachel, who's giving him the business. I wanted him to say, Rachel, I was almost murdered.
Remember me? I almost died. You're lucky
died.
You're talking to me right now.
Don't give me that sass. Parents, they do not pick. I mean, hey, they may be blue collar. They can't afford the cost to fly over to, across the pond. Maybe that's what it is, but it seemed a little sketchy.
Well, who's paying for all of this? Is he just living off the nurse?
He's living.
Who claims that she is so poor? London is one of the most expensive cities. Do you see how big her apartment was?
Living alone in a love shack. We haven't really talked about the nurse. He's in the hospital for 3 weeks. Then he's like about to leave. The nurse picks him up. And it's basically like, hey, let's go back to my love shack.
Giving nurses a bad reputation.
You're not supposed to do that, nurses, as far as I know. They have a nurse's oath not to molest their patients, as far as I know.
I guess so.
I don't know.
Maybe that doesn't apply in England.
I don't think he's with her for that long. I only think it's a couple days, but maybe I'm mistaken. Oh, but here, this is another question I have.
Yes.
This movie features another doctor turned amateur sleuth. We've seen this in many different movies, most notably Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, where the doctor's like, you know what, I'm just going to investigate this case. I'm going to drive on up to East Proctor and get to the bottom of this mystery.
Absolutely.
Don't you have patience?
Dr. Detective. No, apparently not.
Clearly not. He's like, I went down to the records office and, the records were not there. It was very strange. So what, if I walking off the street and say, hey, I'm a doctor, 200 miles away, do I have access to all the county records and everything? All of the private, papers? You can hook me
and
up.
all the locals come to you and go, you're right. There are werewolves all running through here. Let me pull you aside, lad, and let me tell you the story. Absolutely. You're about to get your guts ripped out. And we're not going to lift a finger to
No,
save
we're
you.
not doing
So
that.
do as ye please.
Only in the movies are people like, you know what? I got to investigate this. The cops Scotland Yard ain't handling it. Nurse, tell my patients to suck on an Advil.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out of town for a couple days doing some extrajudicial research.
I got werewolf investigation.
Basically.
That's what you know what? If we don't have the corona lockdown in September, then I'm just going to tell the school that they're going to have to get substitutes for a week because I'm storming Area 51. I need to investigate.
You got to do some investigations. Okay, you have no power of subpoena, but do your best. Okay.
That's right. I'm not a police officer, but I play one.
Exactly. Oh Lord. So you got, and then there's the highly erotic shower scene with David Naughton and Jenny Agutter. Agutter. I don't know what her name is.
Das ist sehr gut.
Like there was she basically says, I don't usually pick up my patients. As far as you know.
You seem like you do it every day, the way you was smooth as smooth can be.
That's just her move.
She just circles the hospitals with a van. Picking up sexy people who've been knocked on their heads.
She's like, I think you may be insane, but I still find you very attractive.
But you hot. Get in my van.
A rational person would look at his behavior and think, this guy needs to be shackled like Hannibal Lecter. He is nuts. He's seeing things. He's screaming out. He's disappearing in the zoo.
Don't they have social services in the 80s in England? Is that a miss? Is that a no?
Evidently, you're just on your own. Okay, it's much like America, like in that respect. Evidently,
like those hospitals that got busted in LA for just dumping their indigenous.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Indigent patients on Skid Row. They're like in their hospital robes.
You can't do it. It's against the rules. Any other highlights before we move on?
I think that just about covered it. Good times.
Good times. Okay, let's hit behind the scenes.
All right.
Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
You better start because I don't got nothing.
Oh, that's what I like to hear. At one point, David is sitting in the hospital, and they send like a representative from the consulate to come meet with them.
Oh! I wrote that down. Shut your mouth.
Okay, jump in.
Okay, I gotta get my glasses.
Oh, God. And he was very unhelpful, I would just like to say.
That was Frank Oz. It was Frank Oz.
And who is Frank Oz?
He is one of the Muppet Masters.
He is the voice of Miss Piggy. He was the voice of...
Earlier in the movie, they were watching the Muppet Show.
That's right. He was also the voice of Yoda. You seek Yoda.
Oh, yeah. And then he made all those bullshit bar patrons in that first Star Wars. But I guess we can forgive him for Yoda.
So he's in there, and if you listen to his voice, you can kind of catch it. You're like, your voice sounds a little familiar to me. So yeah, Frank Oz makes his triumphant appearance in this movie. This movie was the first movie to win the Academy Award for Best Makeup. They invented the category for this movie.
Just for this. I mean, it was state of the art, but I gotta tell you, it just doesn't hold up, and it takes too long. Basically, you could chop him up and make sushi out of him for how long it took you to transform with the screaming and the cracking. I mean, wouldn't the neighbors call? These are old apartments.
Yes, they probably would. Let's be honest. Well, but this was interesting. Okay, there's a whole story about this. John Landis had the idea for American Werewolf in London years earlier. He wrote the script initially because he was traveling in like Yugoslavia and happened to see a funeral.
Vampire?
Saw a vampire. Saw a funeral where they buried somebody standing straight up with garlic around them. And it was kind of a superstitious way to kind of keep the dead from coming back to the life, evidently.
Holy crap. What circles is John Landis traveling in?
He's backpacking through the moors, evidently.
Apparently, this was like a slice of life with the one where you just wander around in cattle trucks and with sheep.
Pretty much. So he had the script, and Rick Baker was like, when you do the movie, I will do the special effects with you. Cool. Years pass. And he gets a call from Joe Dante saying, hey, I'm doing The Howling. I need a special effects guy. He says, cool, I'll start working for you. And he starts working. He starts building stuff. John Landis says, hey, I finally got the funding for American Werewolf in London. Let's get to work. He's like, I'd love to, but I'm working on another werewolf movie right now. John Landis lost his damn mind and evidently a friendship, so much so that Rick Baker was like, fine. So he bailed on The Howling, handed it over to Rob Bottin, as we said, were a lot of kind of bladders kind of bubbling on the changes.
Oh, yeah. It was sloppy.
And took his work.
But similar. Very similar, nonetheless.
Took his work over to American Werewolf. Now, like we said, Howling is an anthropomorphic wolf man, whereas American Werewolf, basically you're a person who becomes a giant wolf. And they actually argued about this. John Landis and Rick Baker. John Landis wanted the big wolf. Rick Baker wanted the wolf man. But you're the director. No. You get to do what you want.
That's right.
But here,
and then he made a shitty wolf.
And he said, here's the thing. I don't want you to do the transformation in shadows, kind of like what you see in The Howling in the darkened medical office. I want it to be all the lights turned on. I want to see everything, which is a huge handcuff to put on your special effects guy. So with that in mind, I think it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive how they do that transformation in a well-lit room where you see you see it all. You see all the goods.
It was state-of-the-art.
It was definitely state-of-the-art for the time. So one thing he had initially had trouble filming in London for permits and things like that. Basically, they said, we will give you a permit for David Naughton. We'll give you a permit for Griffin Dunn. We'll give you the permit, but we're not going to give the permit to Rick Baker. You have to hire a British person to do this job, basically.
Oh, weird.
And he basically went back to them and said, like, how about I film American Werewolf in Paris then? And they buckled and said, okay, you can do what you want.
Good.
All the movies, you may have noticed, or all the songs in the movie, you may have noticed, have the word moon in them.
Well, not only that, they play Blue Moon at least three times. Three different versions. Bobby Vinton, Sam Cooke, and the immortal Marcells sing the closing credits with the bom 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 bom. It's a good one. Bing bong bing bang
But
yeah.
You know it, don't you?
Yeah, I do know. But the problem with that is it was very obvious that they just ran out of songs with Blue Moon.
I mean, songs with moon in the title.
The songs with moon, because then at first it was like, oh, there's the one good CCR song.
Bad Moon Rising. Yep.
Bad Moon Rising, and then there was some
Van
other
Morrison.
thing, and then all of a sudden,
Van.
and then all of a sudden we got Blue Moon 3 times.
Well, this is an issue.
It is an issue with me because it was very obvious.
Okay, so like we said, you had Bad Moon Rising by CCR. You also had Van Morrison singing Moon Dance. And they actually wanted to have the third song be Moon Shadow by Cat Stevens.
Yusuf Islam.
More appropriately known as Yusuf Islam. I had somebody actually come up to me because I've been growing my quarantine beard. They're like, were your fans confused when you changed your name to Yusuf Islam?
Oh, I want to meet that friend.
So they're like, we want to do Moon Shadow. And he wouldn't let him do it. Even though, if you listen to the lyrics, the songs are about dismemberment. He had converted to Islam, and he said, I'm not having my song be about werewolves and horrible horror.
Right.
Evidently, they did try to also get an Elvis Presley version of Blue Moon, but there was all sorts of legal wrangling.
Well, there was...
So...
Yeah,
took a pass on that. Any other behind the scenes you want to talk about, or can we move on?
One funny thing, and maybe I hallucinated this. The name of the porno was "See You Next Wednesday."
Yes,
but earlier there was a sign that said "See You Next Tuesday."
Or no, it was always "See You Next Tuesday." But this is an interesting fact: if you watch any John Landis movie, you will either see the word "See you next Tuesday" written in print, or somebody will have the line "See you next Tuesday,"
which stands for
nothing. It's just kind of a funny thing that he includes.
I'm sorry, it is code for the word "cunt." We used to always say that.
Holy mackerel!
Yes, C-U.
Okay, I'm probably going to cut this.
C-U-N-T. So that's how we would in high school and college.
Holy
like,
mackerel! I did not know that. Yeah. That's probably more than I needed.
Google it, Fred.
I'm gonna have to Google that.
Google it, because once he actually went into the theater, because you kept seeing it behind you, but once he went to the movie, it was "See You Next Wednesday."
Are you sure? I think you're sniffing glue.
Yes, it switches.
Well, that's the movie is fake. Obviously, they filmed that just for.
Frankly, the porno was almost as funny as the movie, if not funnier.
It was a classic. Okay, let's go right into the cast. We talked about David Naughton plays David.
Wait, I have two more things.
Go for it,
please.
Two
more things?
Please.
Okay, did you notice the detective at the beginning that was investigating was a pure Clouseau?
Yes.
There was a pure Clouseau.
But not as well done, frankly.
No. And then they never used them again. So that made no sense.
You saw him. You saw the two. You saw the inspector and the bumbling sergeant. There was a lot.
They should have leaned into that more. It would have been funnier.
Okay.
And the next thing is, I misremembered the name of the pub.
The Slaughtered Lamb.
Didn't you? The Slaughtered Lamb, but don't you always remember it as the Slaughtered Lamb's Head Inn? What is that from?
I've never thought of that.
I think that's
Brideshead
a Simpsons.
Revisited.
Not Brideshead. I think it's a Simpsons tweak, because I swear to you, Slaughtered Lamb's Head Inn is what I always remembered the name of the pub.
Perfect.
I'm Googling it while you talk.
Okay. So David Naughton, again, primarily was the Dr. Pepper pitchman, and he was the star of Making It, where he also sang the theme song. So that was very important as well. Other than that, he was like in My Sister Sam. He was in Sybil. He basically went to TV sitcoms after that, very sporadically. Very sad situation. David, we're big fans.
It's a sad, sad situation. What's he doing now?
See you next Tuesday, I guess. Jenny Agutter, most famously from what movie? We talked about it on the show.
Damn it!
Logan's Run. Logan's Run, of course.
Oh my God!
With Michael
You're
York.
Right. All you had to do is say it. It all
Yep.
came together. She had that well.
So she was in Logan's Run. What?
Wait, how old? When did
Logan's Run came out 5 years earlier.
Oh, it was only
Yes.
5 years. Boy, state-of-the-art special effects for change.
Strangely, if you watch any of the Avengers movies, she pops up as a member of the World Security Council. Yes.
Oh my God, I hate
Well,
the Avengers. I want to stab them. I'm going to send a werewolf.
That makes me
to
very
gut 'em.
sad.
Please I don't want to see any more freaking Marvel, Avengers, superhero, maybe a Loki one because he's very cute. But really,
Well,
I'm so over
I'm going to be staying to the road while you walk through the moor. Okay? You're on your own there.
Oh
You're on
my
your own
God! Did you notice that the moor looks like it was lit by like car headlamps? Like, could it be a little brighter?
there. Well, it shouldn't have been lit by anything because it's like there's nothing out there.
It was literally like when I want to take pictures, but I don't feel like getting my lighting equipment out. I'll just roll my car up and hit the headlights. That's what it pretty much looked like. It was way too broad spectrum
sad.
light. Watch it, you'll see. You'll know my truth. By the way, I've just Googled the slaughtered lamb's head in, and I got nothing. I got nothing.
Griffin Dunn plays the buddy and zombie Jack. He's famous for, he was in After Hours, the Martin Scorsese movie. He was in...
Which one was After Hours? Is that
No,
the
that's
Borg one?
Visiting Hours, I think. After Hours is some dude.
Is that the one with the fawns?
No,
The
that's
morgue?
Night Shift. What the hell is going on here? He also, if you're of a mind, had a funny scene in Amazon Women on the Moon, if you're paying attention to such things.
But not Cannibal
Definitely
Holocaust.
not Cannibal Holocaust. Sadly, he's also famous for being the older brother of Dominique Dunn. Dominic Dunn was the father. Dominique Dunn was his little sister.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Who was in Poltergeist.
And what's
who died tragically at a very young age. So there you go.
And so what's he doing now? Is he a
he
grifter?
directs a lot of stuff. He was in This Is Us.
All right.
I don't know, The French Dispatch. Does that mean something to you?
Did I see the French?
Goliath.
I know the French Connection. Is that the same thing?
There you go. Good stuff.
Lord.
I noticed one of the chess players in the Slaughtered Lamb was played by Rick Mayall, who you might remember from The Young Ones, the British. There you go.
I remember. Is it?
He wasn't Vivian. Vivian was the punk rocker guy.
Right.
His
So
name,
which
I'll
one
tell
was
you
it?
exactly.
Okay.
His name was just Rick. That makes sense. There you have it. Good
Okay.
times. I think
Griffin Dunn's still okay.
that's
I still date
lovely.
him.
Sweet Jesus. That's about it for the cast. Let's talk.
Now I want to watch the beginning of the movie again, but I had to go get Cinemax. Even though I have Cinemax, I couldn't watch it unless I joined the Amazon Cinemax channel. And then I had to cancel it, so now I can't go back and watch the pub scene again. But now at least I need to go watch the.
Now, another thing I forgot to mention is they actually did make an American Werewolf in Paris.
I never
It was a
saw
lot
that.
of those computer-generated special effects, which not as good.
Oh,
Although it did
dear.
star Tom
Dear.
Everett Scott from That Thing You Do. So.
Oh, the guy who was on that Brett, what's her name?
Yeah,
TV
that
show.
one.
Brett Butler. The tall guy.
Okay.
The tall, thin, cute guy.
I don't know.
No, is it?
Am I
Is
his
it?
biographer?
There was a whole bunch of people in That Thing You Do. Was it? Who was it? You got to
That Thing You Do,
it to me.
where they're the rock band from the.
Yeah. No, which
He was
dude
the main
from That
dude. He was
Thing
the
You
drummer.
Do?
No,
But not the lead
no,
singer. He was
no.
the cute
It's
guy.
not Christina
the good
Applegate's
guy.
ex-husband. Not him.
Oh my God!
Jonathan
the dark-haired dude was
Shake is, I
Christina
believe, his name.
Applegate?
Also have Steve Zahn and Charlize Theron and Liv Tyler.
Well, you know,
Steve
I love,
Zahn is great.
I love Steve
Let's go
Zahn.
to our ratings. This movie, I'm going to tell you Rotten Tomatoes. This has an 87% certified fresh, So what is
Okay.
your rating for American Werewolf in London?
I am going to I'm going to give it 2 ratings. Back in the day, I would have given it 4 out of 5 pentagrams. But now I'm just going to give it 3 Aleister Crowleys.
That's lovely. That's lovely. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 Moors. So there you go. Good times. Mary Tyler Moores, for God's sakes. I enjoy this movie. I think as far as horror goes, if you have somebody that's not a huge horror fan, like gets easily afraid, this movie's I think this is good for the whole family. It's pretty light.
It's pretty light.
I enjoy
It's pretty
it,
light.
I thought it very entertaining.
Yeah, you're not going to be traumatized and having to stay up late because you watch this.
This ain't Hereditary. This ain't Babadook.
It's pretty light.
This ain't Conjuring.
Oh, it's not. It's not the Babadook.
It is fun though. I enjoyed it.
But yeah, it's Halloween.
Exactly.
You throw it on. You can see David Naughton, part of his penis. So
just the good part, evidently. Oh, sweet Jesus. So there you have it. Thank you very much. Go to our page on Facebook at the podcast that wouldn't die. What?
Freeze it right there. Speaking of penises, what was that horrible Joe Bob movie we watched with the worm thing?
With the worm thing? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it was like it would talk. It was like a
brain
drug
damage.
attack.
Brain damage.
Brain damage. I had to close my blinds because at one part it was like some kind of most disturbing
it was pretty rough.
Pornography, and I had to run because my TV faces my front yard. I had to jump up and close the blinds. I was like, "Holy crap! They're gonna call like CPS."
Hopefully, it's not CPS.
So there was not
Sweet Jesus.
So it was not that.
Well, I guess that we can be thankful for. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcast, TWDie. Email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. We are at Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, etc., etc.
iHeartRadio podcast.
If you say so.
My Alexa. I keep yelling at Alexa, going, "Play the Apple podcast, the podcast that didn't die," and it puts on some freaking Greek or Atlanta, Georgia stuff. So then it'll finally go, "Playing the iHeartRadio podcast."
Well, first of all, it's the podcast that wouldn't die, so that might be the issue. Thank you very much. Aaron, you are on Twitter as well.
I am the cult of Aaron. Join the cult.
Up. So thank you very much, and be well.
Be well, my brother. Stay safe, wear your mask, and fight the power.